Hi everyone, it's Marcia from Shakti Soul Coach, and I'm coming today to you with a message the type of message I usually don't bring through, but it's just been a lot coming up in my space, and I was started to get a lot of messages today. So here we go. We're going to be doing it looking at a world event. We're looking at the situation in Afghanistan, especially when it comes to the women and the children. Now, the reason I feel like I have been drawn to address this world event is because in my own personal life, in my own soul journey in this lifetime, I've really been in a situation where I've been healing old patterns of being a woman who has been stripped of her rights or has had no legal rights. And so reclaiming that power. And so this is part of my personal motivation and urging through spirit to bring this message forward. Now, what has really been interesting too is Friday afternoon I was at UPS of all the places, and look at what I saw. This was right on the counter, and I couldn't believe they had a magnet of white buffalo calf woman, and I just had to have it. And I'm like, well, okay, this is a sign. And I had no idea why she was coming into my field. And I found out this morning, it was before this message. So she's saying, peace to all people in all lands for all time. Okay, so she is actually the dominant goddess who's here with us. I was also guided to pull the White Buffalo Calf Woman card from the Alana Fairchild Earth Warrior deck. Okay, this is gorgeous, and look at how gorgeous she is. And this is Hopeful Heart. See the sign. Okay, and look at the White Buffalo Calf. So that's how we're going to start up this reading. So, as I feel everyone knows across the world that the United States has pulled out of Afghanistan the scheduled last day, or they're pulling out. The scheduled last day is August 31st. This video is actually being made on August 29th, 2021, 2 days before the official end date. So we have been hearing rumors about the Taliban, obviously, from their past demonstrations when they were in power about really restricting women's rights to going into having to wear burqas and having to essentially not be able to leave the house without a male chaperone, and on and on. Okay, so we understand that. Now, the interesting part is when I was meditating on that this morning, the message became much bigger and much clearer. And so, as I've been talking a lot this in the last year or two, this is a time where our own personal lives, our own personal patterns, what we're working with, what we're healing, is the microcosm of what the collective is working on and healing, right? And this morning the message came through that the situation in Afghanistan, particularly around the women and the children, is only a fishbowl. It's a fishbowl that's reflective of everything that is going on across this world. And what does that mean? The reason Spirit came through, White Buffalo Calf Woman in particular came through and said it's a fishbowl, is because the issue for the women in particular is that the strong possibility that their freedom will be very restricted. Now, on a macrocosm global level, we've seen this happen and is happening in places like Australia, New Zealand. It's coming back here to New York and to California and the States in particular. We're seeing this theme of freedom being restricted, which is so curious because, we're playing in both sides. We are on this planet of duality. And this being a 5-year, 5 is the number of freedom, and it's the number of change. And so, the thing that I love that I've heard about the 5 is, it has the line up top, and then you've got that base, and then it's got the circle on the bottom. And that line, that little like right angle, those 2 lines that make the right angle on top, they pivot forward, they pivot back, they pivot forward, they can pivot back. So they can see the past, and then they turn and they can see the future. And the 5 is right in the middle. And so we're being asked, okay, like the Taliban coming back in, and if the women's rights are being restricted, we're looking at the past. Okay, how do we pivot and look toward the future and make the change that's for not in Afghanistan, but in our own personal lives, so that we can reflect this out across the world? Okay, that's really what the message is here. It's about our own personal freedom, who we are, and how is it reflected in Afghanistan. I do want, or as Afghanistan, as the fishbowl of freedom for the world. I do want to pull some cards around this. I have a couple of different decks. I was guided to I wanted to use a tarot because of especially all the light and the dark, and we're getting the Art of Love tarot. I wanted to pull, to use something really high vibe, and this one came through. Oh, this is by Denise Jarvis out of Australia, and Tony Carmine Salerno is who did the illustrations. And so that one's gorgeous. We're also using Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestors deck, illustrated by Lily Moses, sorry. And because this has a lot of white buffalo calf, and you can just see here, a lot of white buffalo calf energy in it. And then the third deck that came through is Sandra Ann Taylor's Energy Oracle. So these are the decks that we'll be using. First and foremost, I'm just getting, pull a card around the situation in Afghanistan right now. And the situation we're talking about is the Taliban coming back into power. What message does Spirit have for us about the Taliban coming back into power? What message does Spirit have for us? Oh, interesting. I love it. We received the clarity, the teacher card. So yes, this is just giving us this is just confirming what I said Spirit brought through, is that Afghanistan is actually the teacher of the world right now, about how we are to look at our own version of what we consider free. When I was early this morning meditating on this, I kept on hearing the Janis Joplin song, right? And freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And are we getting to that place? Are we really getting to that place in this 5-year of examining what freedom is? And we're coming to a time now, we already have 6 planets retrograde right now. And the 3 big transpersonal planets, we've got Neptune, we've got Uranus, we've got Pluto. Transpersonal, that's the world, that's the universe, that's humanity. We've got Saturn and Saturn and Jupiter, both in Aquarius, both in the sign of humanity and the collective, and also the freedom fighter. The sacred rebel, the freedom fighter. They're retrograde right now. The 2 largest planets in our galaxy are retrograde. Plus, we have Chiron, which is the wounded healer. That's retrograde too. So, and then it depends, right around September 26th, 27th, we have Mercury going retrograde. So, and that's in a month, a little less than a month, but we can begin feeling it in 2 weeks when it goes into its shadow. So we have all this retrograde energy. This is the energy of reflection, right? Of reviewing, of researching, of redoing, of resting and relaxing. But I'm really feeling this is more like a big collective life review. The 5, that pivot. We're looking towards the past. We're looking towards the future. Which direction do we want to go? Specifically here in the United States, we went through, and then the United States is going through its Pluto return. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the date, but very soon. It's going through its Pluto return, I think it's August, I think it's October 5th and 6th. So it's really coming up. And we are, we're heading very quickly towards the energy of that. And in a United States context, that is so significant. It's the first time ever for this country that we've ever had a Pluto return. What happened here during our Pluto return? The 13 colonies, or the 13 original colonies, banded together, created a coalition, and wrote the Declaration of Independence to fight for their freedom from the British Empire. So, we have the opportunity here, and it was done in a peaceful, quote-unquote, legal manner. It wasn't, the war didn't really start until after that. But the declaration was made. And I don't know, and 5 is the throat chakra. It's the speaking of your truth. It's communication. So, this event that's upcoming before the end of the year in the next, let's say 6 weeks, within 6 weeks, along with the situation in Afghanistan, these different world events are allowing us to look at our own personal freedom, to come back home. Because once we're home and we decide, how do I perceive what freedom is for me? How do I embody freedom of thought? And this is a big concept, and I'm like, okay, this is just what's coming through the channel, and I'm like, okay, you gotta help me out with this one. So I'm just going to ask, how do we embody freedom of thought? How do we embody freedom of thought? How do we embody that? How do we feel that? What is this? Whoa, okay. Hopefully you all saw those just kind of fly out. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is so, I'm getting chills. Okay, we received the Shaolin Master. Be graceful in movement and actions. Be graceful in movement and actions. And look at what came with it. The Eagle card. See from a higher perspective. Okay, so this has to do with, the Shaolin Master is a very powerful martial artist, right? It represents that kind of a power. However, at the same time, this is about being graceful and gentle with our movements. So just like what came through just now about the Declaration of Independence, it was yes, there was definitely rebellion going on, but it wasn't chaos. It was peaceful rebellion. And so I'm feeling that this is a call for our action to really be in the space of, to say no in a very, if we so choose, to having restrictions on our freedom in any way, shape, or form. To say no in a very grounded, peaceful manner. Now, I am very much drawn to the dragon in the background. Also, too, I think he has a cricket in his hand, or a grasshopper. Oh, he does. He has the orange and the grasshopper. I love the grasshopper. Grasshopper is a symbol of moving forward. So we are, even though all these planets are going to be retrograde through probably mid-October-ish at least, all of them at once, let me put it that way, or end of October even, we have the choice to move forward. And right now, this is about gentle movement forward. the dragon is, to me, very significant. And, just kind of like peering at it without my glasses on, that orange looks like a golden ball. And I have been working with, since, especially before that though, when the year the dragon came in 2012, interestingly enough, the year the dragon was 2012, and I had a lot of dragon medicine come in for me, and it was after the first time I came back from India. I had come back from India a year earlier, 2011. And when I was in Egypt, when did I see it? I think it was in Egypt. What I was getting was this vision of the world, and I'm seeing that orange is representing the world with 12 golden dragons who are the guardians of this planet. And so this is actually a card of hope, of allowing us to know that we are still divinely protected, and to not go into retreat so much, but to be gentle and peaceful in our movements, and know that this is where we are all being guided to. Everything that is going on right now, where rights seem to be restricted, where freedom seems to be restricted, this is a opportunity for us to actually come out of that. Sometimes you have to go through it. This is like a breakdown to breakthrough moment. And the breakdown is we have to experience it literally, unfortunately. But we have to experience it literally, so that we can experience it on a very, on a much higher, bigger, better level. Okay. The other card that came through is the eagle. And that's seeing things from a higher perspective. So I thought I was really going to do more of a political world event video, but it's kind of taken off into a different direction, and we may get back to that in a bit. But the eagle represents a million different things, and across all cultures. Here in the United States, it represents freedom. How about that? And seeing everything, and of course it has very much is of the indigenous peoples here in this country, in particular, in all countries. The eagle is the beautiful. It's a dream catcher kind of mandala in back, and so this is the other thing too, is we can get caught up in especially here in Virgo season, the sun's in Virgo, and I'm hearing don't get caught up in the dirty details. It's about like, okay, that's why I thought, we're gonna do like this down and dirty, reading on Afghanistan, and trying to look into things, and it's like, no, seeing everything from a higher perspective. Okay, what does Afghanistan really represent for humanity at this moment in time? What does it represent for women at this time? What does it represent for children at this time? What does it represent for men at this time? What does it represent for all of humanity at this time? What does it represent for those who are in power? What does it represent as a peacekeeping mission, or as a mission of greed, or as a mission of a failure, or a mission of accomplishment? However it is approached, we have all these different angles that the 5-year is able to pivot and see. And so this is why we are really able, and also remember, eagle is the spirit medicine, the animal medicine that's the highest to the source of all that is. It is in contact with the divine. So that is another indicator that when my ear just started buzzing when I said it is the highest to the divine and in contact with the divine. The divine is in on this. The divine is watching everything. The golden dragons are still protecting this planet. Okay, so there is, what else do we have to to talk about here. I am hearing, like, let's pull a card around the situation of women in Afghanistan, just to see what comes up and comes through. Oh, boy. Is there a theme or what? This is their divine masculine energy, the king of angels. This is the angels in this deck represents swords. It's up in a traditional tarot, and it's the element of air. It's the mind, the intellect, the mind. So this is their divine masculine rational intellect, allowing them to step into the role as a country's citizens of power, of the power of their peaceful warrior. Wow. I have to say this, that I'm getting this feeling that the revolution starts at the hearth. That's what I'm hearing. The revolution starts at home. It starts at the hearth. And that, of course, we know been in the traditional, quote-unquote, traditional place of women from many cultural points of views over the last 5,000 years. But the women of Afghanistan are really, and also too, they're being angelically protected. That doesn't mean that, oh, nothing bad is going to happen. That just means that there is a divine purpose in their situation. And so they are here to represent I was getting the energy of Gandhi earlier. And to me, this is a Gandhi energy. And I was getting it earlier. I'm like, oh, I almost said Gandhi. When I saw the Shaolin Mister, I was feeling Gandhi energy. I'm like, I feel Gandhi is with these women. I feel Gandhi is with these women. And, yeah, like I can feel the emotion. Yeah. And this even peaceful protest, peaceful revolution, peaceful warrior energy from the home, from the hearth. And these women have a big road ahead of them because they are also going to be the ones who protect the children. This is also the card of protecting the children. The women are going to be the ones who are standing up and protecting the children. But they aren't going to submit. They may follow the rules to play along for a while, but it doesn't look like complete submission. This is actually a beautiful message. This is not the message of destruction or of conflict. So I'm actually quite pleased, quite relieved, truthfully. Okay, there was another message about, what was the other? Buffalo Calf woman wanted me to. We're going to, what else do we need to know or do around Afghanistan? I can't make this up. The thinking woman. The thinking woman. The peaceful warrior. And it's an 11. 4 plus 7 equals an 11. These women are on a mission collectively at a soul level to enact transformation in a system that has in the past been very restrictive. They're here to enact transformation for the freedom through their ability. And look at, she's reading. She's reading. She has a book. There is going to be quite an attempt through inside sources. I'm just keep on seeing the home, to keep the education of women going in the country. So these women are a beacon of an example of what it is like to be essentially under house arrest in a way. And how do you move forward out of that if you so choose? And yeah, they are truly, as a collective unit, an example of defining what freedom is and what it means to them and for them. Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, they want me to pull a card around freedom for the collective. Okay, and it's going to come from the Art of Love Tarot, because they want it to be about, they want it to come with the energy of love. Okay, what is the message for the collective around freedom? Whoa, okay. Well, okay. I love this. This is the card. Okay, which one I started? I started with this one. The Two of Hearts. So the Two of Hearts, union for the collective. This is going back to White Buffalo Calf's message. Peace to all people in all lands for all time. Oh, we're not even close to that. However, this is the ultimate message for humanity around freedom. Two of Hearts. Bringing all, I don't want to say bring all people together in unity, because that sounds kind of trite. And to me, that's not what unity consciousness represents. Unity consciousness represents our ability to form, to all be in the 5D plus reality. And so this union, though, is the union of the divine masculine, divine feminine. It's about all of us coming into sacred reunion within ourselves and then reflecting that out. So, and also too, this has to do with our own relationships. If we're in a partnership or with any man, any, it's not even like a male female, but it kind of has that feeling. But it's definitely divine it's feminine and masculine energies, about them coming together in this great dance that we have been doing for 10,000 years with the divine masculine, divine feminine. You know, the matriarchy has the power, the patriarchy has the power. You know, who is more who is the more freedom in the matriarchy? Who is more freedom in the patriarchy? This is where the buck stops. Buck stops here. Two of Hearts, where it isn't this necessity of one has to have more power than the other. This is the union of all coming together. Because the abuse of power one of the results is the tending of taking away of the power and the freedom of those who you are overbearing, of who you're overbearing to, of who you're putting your power over in a power abusive state. But when all comes into a holy sacred power, right? There isn't this power over and power under, but there's power together. This is the union, the power together to create freedom for all. How do we do this? The 9 of Trees. This is the Earth card. The 9 of Trees, refinement. This is through, and this is actually a beautiful card. This is the completion. This is the subtle. This is being neutral. This is coming to that place where we are able to see, feel, experience, and empathize and have compassion for everyone in our world, whether we agree with them or not, whether they are like us or not. This is about, recognizing that every soul could be you and is you. And this is the releasing of communal, cultural, societal judgments and cultural overlays of old traditional outworn belief systems. The good news about this is with the South Node in Sagittarius, those are coming up big time. But we can travel, the South Node's the past. What has come before? But we are traveling towards the North Node in Gemini, which is the truth, which is the future. And so, and I love the fact that this is the 9, because we're headed towards a completion. So, that's not to say it's around the corner, but it's okay, sometimes things have to be darkest before the dawn. And that's kind of the energy that we are in when we're seeing all of these restrictions taking place in their own way. And you may be feeling those restrictions in your own personal life that have nothing to do with clearing something, nothing to do with global events. Okay? So, okay, is there anything? Okay, I'm getting pull a final outcome, and then we'll just close everything. And then we're going to use, going back to that, getting that white buffalo cat energy. Oh, okay, here we go. The final outcome message, warrior, be fearless and stand strong, okay? But we also have peaceful warrior. We're getting a lot of warrior energy. This is going to bring, this is definitely bringing, what's the word I want to say? There is a sacred warrior. And that's what we're going to call this. This is actually a sacred warrior energy. I've got a lot of warrior energy. And sometimes I get very frustrated because I've had past life experiences where I've astral projected to when I was dying on a stretcher being brought into a makeshift hospital in Pennsylvania during the Revolutionary War as a 15-year-old boy. Okay, and I'm like, oh my gosh, in this country, and in this world, we're going through this again. I have to fight for freedom again? And so, but this time, I don't have to pick up a gun and do it. What I am doing is I am being a sacred warrior. What does a sacred warrior do? The sacred warrior knows how to say no. The sacred warrior protects the innocent. And the sacred warrior has very strong boundaries. And so, This is a part of, that's why we were saying earlier that the women will be the ones protecting the children in Afghanistan, because they're in that sacred warrior energy, protecting the innocent. And so this is the warrior energy that is coming forward right now, is to protect the innocence of ourselves, of our own inner child, of all divine beings, of every, and they're showing me trees and plants and, the earth herself and all animals. Protecting our own innocence. Because in innocence, we begin to be able to be reborn into a higher place, a higher situation, a higher way of being. Okay. Whew. Thank you so much. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up and share it. And I more than likely will be back soon, because September is going to be quite the month with all these planets retrograde. So I will be back and doing something on September. Okay. So many blessings to you and so much love to everyone. And feel your freedom.